Contrary to some rumors, Kia has decided to return the Niro to the United States, and we're still going to be getting all three flavors: hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and the full EV model. I was really surprised by the full EV model returning to the US because the new EV6 is coming in a much less expensive base model with 167 horsepower, and I really had expected that to basically replace the Niro EV in the US. But instead, Kia's going for a 2 EV strategy at the moment while they work on the next models in the EV lineup. We're going to get an EV9 and an EV whatever at some point soon. First, let's talk about the exterior design, which is essentially common between the three models. This has been a little bit controversial, I have to say. I'm not the biggest fan of the contrasting color pillar right there at the back of the vehicle. It looks a little discordant to me. I wish there was an option to get this vehicle in a single tone color, but it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case. Now, obviously, how much that sticks out will depend on the color of the vehicle, and I think it looks okay in gray, but I wouldn't want to get a white one or a blue one, etc. with that contrasting color pillar. Let me know what you think about that. It's probably not obvious in pictures, but the new Niro is larger than the outgoing model. It gets more legroom, more cargo room, and it's a little bit larger on the outside at 174 inches long. The cargo area has expanded up to 22.8 cubic feet, and it has 6.3 inches of ground clearance, so actually a little bit more than we find in the EV6. But like the previous generation Niro, this is still a front-wheel drive vehicle because it has a common platform for the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, and the electric vehicle. Under the hood, the drivetrains sound very familiar, but Kia has adjusted them and tweaked them here and there to improve efficiency and improve range in the various models. The hybrid system is still a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine, producing 139 horsepower total when coupled with the electric motor and 195 pound-feet of torque, so very Prius-like numbers, and very Prius-like fuel economy with a targeted average of 53 miles per gallon combined. As before, power is routed through a 6-speed dual-clutch transmission, which has always been an interesting twist with the Niro. The dual-clutch transmission helps improve efficiency and it gives it more of a traditional feel that some shoppers might be after. But don't worry if you're not a fan of dual-clutch transmissions because it's actually going to drive more like a regular automatic. It's not going to have that herky-jerky lurchiness that we find in traditional dual-clutch vehicles because of the electric motor. That's always coupled to the transmission, and that smooths out transitions when it's engaging and disengaging the engine. The plug-in hybrid system is based around that same theory of operation and basically the same 6-speed automatic, but it includes a bigger electric motor. And that's going to give you now 180 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. So a pretty healthy bump over the regular hybrid version and likely better performance. It's also going to give you longer range thanks to a new 11.1 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery. They're targeting 33 miles of range, and they didn't give any specifications as far as fuel economy after that range has been depleted, but I would not be surprised if it was either in the very high 40s or perhaps still in the low 50s, just like the regular hybrid model. They're claiming it's going to give an improvement of about 25% in terms of the EV range and an improvement in fuel economy as well. I have to admit, I was personally not expecting the Niro EV to return to the United States, but it is back with a revised version of the same powertrain that we found before. The battery is a 64.8 kilowatt-hour lithium pack, and the motor is a 201 horsepower motor mounted on the front axle. It looks like we get a slightly larger front cargo area just above the electric motor than we had before, but it is still a pizza box variety. DC fast charging has been bumped up, but not as far as we find in the EV6. If you want to go 10% to 80% in just 18 minutes, you're going to want the EV6. In the Niro, it's going to take 45 minutes because the peak charge rate is 85 kilowatts. That's going to be fine for people that just use this as a city car and aren't interested in doing longer road trips where multiple DC fast charge sessions are required. Now, the range is still going to be pretty healthy at 253 miles. So the Niro is still going to be perfectly fine for shorter road trips, say from Northern California to Southern California, where maybe you just have to stop for one 45-minute DC fast charge session. But if you wanted to go from California to Florida, you're probably going to want the EV6. Arguably more important is the onboard 11 kilowatt AC charger, which is definitely going to charge this battery faster than a lot of entry-level competition that has 6.6 kW chargers on board, for instance, the new BZ4X or the Subaru Solterra. Also returning for the Niro is the heat pump system and the optional battery warmer. Now, they're not going to be standard, they are going to be optional, and they haven't said exactly where those are going to be offered. Are we going to be able to buy them in all 50 states, or is it going to be limited only to colder weather states? Taking a look at the inside, no, I have not accidentally swapped out a picture of the EV6 here. The Niro gains a scaled down version of the interior from the EV6. So these are not the 12.3-inch screens we find in the bigger EV. These are just over 10-inch screens, but arranged in a very, very similar way. The steering wheel is also a very similar two-spoke design to the EV6, and we have a very similar button bank just below the infotainment screen for the climate control and the infotainment controls. I have to admit, having driven an EV6 for about a month and a half now, I'm still a little torn about the dual function button bank there. I kind of wish we just had 2 rows of touch buttons or perhaps even physical buttons. I'm more of a physical button fan. My complaint is that occasionally I want to change the volume or I want to change the temperature and it's in the wrong mode, and I find that out after I have already tweaked the knob one way or the other. That quibble aside, I definitely like the futuristic look of this interior and the premium look that we see in pictures so far. Hopefully the interior bears that out in person. The premium feel of the interior is definitely one thing that I really like about the EV6. I think it punches above its price tag, especially when you take a look at the base version of the EV6. And hopefully the Niro will be doing exactly the same thing. Now at this point in time, we don't have any pricing details on the Niro plug-in hybrid, or the Niro EV. But I would not be surprised if the Niro EV especially saw a bit of a price drop in order to put a little bit of distance between it and the base version of the EV6. I wouldn't be surprised if the hybrid and plug-in hybrid maybe got some price adjustments too. The hybrid model might become a little bit more expensive, but I wouldn't be surprised if the plug-in hybrid and the EV got a little bit less expensive thanks to the ongoing price reductions of batteries. If you're interested in any of the new Niros, these are going to be on sale in all 50 states, so it's not limited just to California, and it's going to be on sale summer of 2022. So be sure and hit that subscribe button because I'm going to be driving one over the next few months, and I probably will have a video separately on the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, and the full EV, depending on which version you're interested in. I have to say, I'm really interested to see what the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid are like after this drivetrain refresh, especially the plug-in hybrid, because if you're looking to tiptoe into the world of electrification and you want to reduce the amount of gasoline you're consuming, but you're not really sold on a full EV yet, this is going to be a great option for you. As with the current Niro EV, it's important to focus on gasoline mitigation, not gasoline replacement, because there are going to be a wide variety of driving situations where it's still going to use the gasoline engine. It's just going to use the gasoline engine less over that 30, 40 miles when you first start up the car with the charged battery than the regular hybrid model would be. But it's not going to be full EV. If you want that, there's, of course, the Niro EV. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Find me over at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those other social places, and I'll see you just as soon as I can when I'm behind the wheel of the new Niro.